Every morning at 6 a.m., Central Park stirred awake with a familiar rhythm. The pounding of running shoes on pavement, the barking of dogs, the hum of bicycles, and the hiss of espresso machines near the South Gate. Ethan Rivers, founder of a renowned medical tech company, never missed a morning. With wireless earbuds, a tailored windbreaker, and a closed-off expression, he ran the same route each day, never a step out of place. It was how Ethan kept his world steady. In a city as chaotic as New York, he moved within his own quiet order. Until one morning, something interrupted him. He stopped mid-stride, drawn by an unfamiliar sight. A little girl curled up on a bench. She clutched a torn stuffed bear, her hair tangled, bare feet sticking out from beneath an oversized hoodie. She didn't ask for money. She didn't move. She didn't open her eyes. But in that hush, Ethan heard something faint. A lullaby, soft and eerily familiar. Ethan stood still. That melody, it was unmistakable. An old lullaby, not something you'd hear on the street. Only one person had ever sung it in his life. Isabel Quinn. She had been the deepest love he'd ever known. They once shared a tiny apartment in Brooklyn. Isabel, a children's book illustrator with a gentle voice and eyes that always seemed to understand what he couldn't say. When she left, she vanished. No goodbye, no phone call, no trace. Only a silence that never healed. The last time Ethan saw Isabel, she was pregnant. And now, the girl on that bench looked about 6 or 7 years old. He stepped closer, cautiously. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. The girl opened her eyes, not afraid, just watching him, like she recognized something distant in him. "What's your name?" he asked. "Laya," she whispered. Ethan froze. That name, it was the one they had chosen on a summer afternoon that felt like another lifetime. Then his eyes landed on something around her neck, a heart-shaped pendant, old silver, with a tiny scratch on the side. His chest tightened. Isabel had worn that exact necklace every day. She never took it off. Ethan left the park that day with heavy steps. He couldn't focus on anything. The board meeting, the quarterly report, numbers he usually handled like second nature. All of it felt meaningless. His mind kept circling back to Leah, her small face, her calm gaze, and the silver pendant glinting in the early light. That afternoon, he stood at the window of his 23rd floor office, staring down at Central Park, as if it might answer the question looping in his mind. Could she be my daughter? He wasn't sure. He wasn't the kind of man who believed in coincidences either. Isabel used to say, "New York always brings you back to what you haven't finished." Maybe, this time, she was right. The next morning, Ethan returned to the park. Leah was there, curled up just like the day before. When he approached, she opened her eyes. "Are you hungry?" he asked, pulling a granola bar from his coat. Leah looked at it, then gave a small nod. She took it carefully, peeling the wrapper as if afraid of tearing it. She ate slowly, bite by bite. Ethan sat on the far end of the bench, keeping space. "Where's your mom?" he asked. Leah whispered, eyes on the snack. "She said she'd come back." A simple promise, yet it hit him like a punch to the chest. "Do you remember where your home is? Any relatives?" She shook her head. "Nothing. No one." That afternoon, Ethan called Claire Halden, an old friend who worked in child protection. He told her everything, leaving out only the part that gnawed at his gut, that he was starting to believe Leah might be his daughter. Claire met him that evening. Together, they searched the city's database, but no record of Leah. No birth certificate, no school enrollment, no medical visits. The girl didn't exist on paper. "There are only 2 possibilities," Claire said, jotting notes and sighing. "Either her mother made sure to keep everything hidden, or they've been in hiding for a very long time." Ethan said nothing, eyes drifting to the glow of streetlights. If Isabel had truly given birth and raised a child alone, what could have happened to make her leave that child on a cold bench in Central Park? And why on the exact path Ethan ran every morning? The question began as a doubt, but the more he thought about it, the more it felt Maybe this wasn't a coincidence at all. For 3 days straight, Ethan returned to the park, but Leah was gone. At first, he thought maybe she had wandered off temporarily. But by Wednesday morning, when the bench remained empty, panic started to grow inside him. He asked the coffee vendors, the dog walkers, the groundskeepers. No one had seen her since the weekend. A sense of helplessness pulled at him like quicksand. He checked nearby police stations, hospitals, shelters. Nothing. No record, no sign. That night, just as he was ready to give up, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. "You're the man who used to sit with that little girl in the park, right?" A rough, tired voice came through. "Yes. Who is this?" "My name's Rosa. I live in the Lower East Side. The girl showed up at my door 2 nights ago. She said she only trusted you. She's got a high fever. I didn't know what to do. I found your number in a little pouch in her backpack." Ethan didn't ask another question. He drove like every second was life or death. When he arrived, Rosa was waiting outside. "She's inside, on the couch. Hasn't eaten in 2 days. The hospital wouldn't admit her. No papers. They gave her fever meds and told me she needs a legal guardian." Ethan stepped inside. Leah was curled up on the couch, her tiny body shivering beneath a faded blanket. Her eyes fluttered open as he knelt beside her. "I waited for you," she murmured. And in that moment, Ethan knew he would never leave her alone again. Ethan lifted Leah gently, as if afraid a sudden move might break her. Rosa followed closely, worry shadowing her every step. In the car, Leah rested her head on his chest, her breathing raspy, her hand gripping the edge of the blanket. On the way to a private hospital on the west side of the city, Ethan called Claire. "I need you," he said. "She's really sick, no documents. They won't keep her unless someone steps in." Claire didn't ask anything else. She arrived at the hospital in under 20 minutes, carrying a folder and a look of fierce purpose. "We'll file for an emergency protection order," she said. "I'll register you as a temporary guardian while we assess her case. But Ethan, this isn't symbolic. You have to be all in." "I'm sure," Ethan said without hesitation. Leah was taken straight into the emergency unit. Minutes later, the doctor returned with a grave face. "She has severe pneumonia, malnutrition, and dehydration. If you'd brought her in just a few hours later, she might not have made it." Ethan sat in the sterile hallway, hands on his head, heart pounding like a drum. He didn't know what it meant to be a father, didn't know if he was ready or worthy, but one thing he knew without question: she needed him now, and he wasn't going anywhere. Leah slept through most of her first day at the hospital, her small frame wrapped in blankets, her breathing still labored. Ethan sat beside her bed, never taking his eyes off her. Every time she stirred or coughed, he jolted, heart pounding. As the sun began to fade, Leah slowly opened her eyes. "How are you feeling?" Ethan asked, voice barely above a whisper. She gave a faint nod. Then, almost like remembering something important, she clutched her stuffed bear tighter and said, "My mom's name is Isabel." Ethan froze. He looked at Leah for a long moment but said nothing. Inside, chaos swirled. Old days, things left unsaid, long nights where Isabel sat silent by the window. That name, there was no mistake. When Claire returned, Ethan told her everything. "Claire, if what Leah said is true, Isabel, the woman I loved, might be her mother. And if that's the case, Leah could be my daughter." Claire didn't argue. Instead, she called an old contact, David Knox, a private investigator known for handling missing persons cases. Ethan handed David everything he had: Isabel Quinn's name, an old photograph, and Leah's quiet memory. "She disappeared 7 years ago," Ethan said. "No one could find her. But now I think maybe she never left the city. Maybe she just didn't want to be found." David simply nodded. "I'll need a few days, but if she's out there, I'll find her." That night, as Ethan left the hospital, the city lights still burned bright. But he knew another kind of light, a deeper truth, was just beginning to come into view. 3 days later, David Knox called. His voice was steady, low. "I found her," he said. She's living in a small town near the Catskills, about 5 hours from the city. Ethan could barely breathe. It's Isabel. She's using a different name, but the appearance and details match. I approached her. At first, she didn't want to talk, but when I mentioned a little girl named Leah, David paused. She broke down. She believes her daughter died. 3 weeks ago, she was in a serious accident while trying to escape. She was in a coma for nearly a month. When she woke up, no one told her anything about the baby. No records, no news. She thought she'd lost her child forever. Ethan gripped the phone tightly. Years of silence were finally unraveling. Isabel hadn't abandoned her daughter. She had simply believed the child was gone. And now, she lived under another name, deep in the woods, carrying a grief she thought no one remembered. Ethan drove into the Catskills beneath a heavy gray sky. The winding road clung to the mountainside, lined with cold pine trees. His heart beat like it was trying to outrun him. David was waiting outside an old cabin tucked deep in the woods. She's inside. She knows you're here. Just don't push. She's still scared. Ethan nodded and stepped inside, carrying something wordless, a mixture of anger, longing, and uncertainty. Isabel sat near an unlit fireplace. She looked thinner, hollow-eyed. Her hair was long, tangled, but her eyes, still Isabel's. "Isabel," he said gently. She looked up, lips trembling. "Is she okay?" "She is," Ethan replied. "Lia's safe. She's getting better, but she misses you." Isabel dropped her head, her body folding in on itself. "I came back. I went to the park 2 days later, but she was gone. I thought I lost her forever." Ethan sat in front of her. "Tell me everything." It took a long moment. Then her voice cracked through the silence. "I ran away from a man, my boyfriend. He was violent, controlling everything, tracking my every move. When I finally decided to escape, I knew I couldn't take Leah with me. I was afraid she'd be in danger if I did. So I left her in a park near the city center where there were plenty of people around, hoping someone would help her. Then I ran, alone, through the forest to avoid being found. In the dark, I slipped and fell down a rocky slope. I didn't wake up right away. When I opened my eyes, it was morning. My head was spinning, and I couldn't stand." Ethan's hands clenched, his chest tight. "Why didn't you call the police? Look for her." "I did go back," she whispered. "But she was gone." I panicked. I didn't know who took her. I thought I destroyed everything, so I hid. I ran deeper. I couldn't face anyone, especially not you. Silence fell. Then Ethan asked the question that had haunted him. "Is Leah my daughter?" Isabel looked up, tears let down. "No," she said. "I got pregnant before I met you. A mistake. A moment I still regret. But when I met you, everything shifted, and that's why I left." She covered her face. "I was too much of a coward to tell you. I thought you deserved better." Ethan said nothing for a while, just watched the woman who had once broken him and who was now breaking in front of him. Then he stepped closer, knelt down, opened his arms. Isabel looked up, surprised. "You made mistakes, Isabel, but you were never unlovable, and you're still her mother. If you can't forgive yourself yet, let me carry that weight with you." She cried, hard this time, and fell into his arms. He held her, not to erase the past, but to walk through it together. Isabel stayed in Ethan's arms for a long while, until the trembling faded. He didn't press her with questions, but his eyes held one unspoken truth. "The girl," Ethan said gently, "you left without knowing what would happen, but now you do. Leah is with me. I was the one who found her. I've been taking care of her." Isabel exhaled, a breath light in sound, but heavy in weight, as if shackles she'd worn for days were finally loosened. "She's really okay?" she asked, eyes still cast downward. "She is, and she misses you every single day." Silence. Then, almost in a whisper, "I can't. I don't dare face her. I left her. I made her think her mother disappeared." Ethan spoke softly. "You can still make it right," She deserves the truth. From you." Isabel shook her head, tears returning. "I don't have the courage. But if it's okay, I'd like to write her a letter. I need her to know I never stopped loving her." Ethan nodded. He waited. When she handed him the folded page, her hands were still shaking. That night, Ethan came home. Leah was coloring by the window. "Someone sent this for you," he said, offering the folded note. She opened it slowly, read it word by word, then tears slid silently down her cheeks. When she finished, she clutched the paper to her chest and whispered, "I knew Mommy never forgot me." After reading her mother's letter, Leah said nothing. She folded the page carefully, like it was the most precious thing she owned. That night, in her small bedroom, she sat by the window with a blank sheet of paper and a colored pencil. No one told her to, no one suggested it, but Ethan knew she was writing back. The next morning, Leah placed the folded letter on the table and said, "Can you give this to Mommy? Like she gave one to me." Ethan nodded. She said nothing more, only returned to her stuffed bear and crayons. That afternoon, as sunlight poured gently across the damp paths of Central Park, Ethan quietly slipped the letter beneath the old bench, the same one where a little girl was once left behind, and where fate gave him a second chance at love. Early the next morning, Isabel found the note. She didn't expect much, just hoped to know her daughter was alive, still remembered, still somewhere in the world. But when she read the soft, simple lines, tears broke from her eyes. "Mom, I'm not mad at you. I waited for you to come back. I don't know why you left, but I know you never forgot me. If you still want me, I'm here. Your daughter, Leah." No blame, no questions, just longing. And an open door. Isabel clutched the letter to her chest, trembling. She knew she couldn't hide anymore. 3 days later, Ethan arranged a quiet meeting at his home. No fuss, no pressure. Just a quiet room, a warm cup of tea, and space for two hearts that had lost their way. When Isabel walked in, Leah sat on the sofa hugging her stuffed bear. She looked up calm, older than her years. Isabel didn't speak. She stood frozen, afraid, hopeful, ashamed. Leah didn't speak either, but she stood, walked slowly over, and wrapped her arms tightly around her mother. No words of forgiveness, no need for apologies. No words, just arms, soft and sure, wrapping around a mother still learning how to breathe again. In that fragile moment, Isabel remembered, love doesn't ask for perfection, only presence. Ethan watched from across the room. He didn't interrupt, but inside something finally settled. A family, not as expected, but real. After the silent embrace between mother and daughter, Isabel sat in Ethan's living room for a long time. Leah clung to her hand, unwilling to let go. Ethan brought them tea, calm and steady. "You can stay here," he said, eyes meeting both of theirs. "This is our home." Isabel looked up, eyes full. She nodded. No words of thanks. Just a quiet kind of gratitude that didn't need to be spoken. 3 months later, Ethan's once quiet apartment was no longer silent. Now there were the soft clicks of crayons across paper, gentle laughter over slightly burnt pancakes, and Isabel humming old lullabies in the kitchen, melodies that once hurt, now gently mending the air. Isabel didn't return as an ex-lover. She didn't need a label. She returned as a mother, and as a woman learning to forgive herself, one quiet day at a time. Leah had grown, not just in age, but in presence. Every morning she made her bed, helped with breakfast, and every evening greeted Ethan with a hug when he returned. Leah didn't call Ethan Dad. No one had to. Love had never been about a word. One afternoon, they all sat together in the living room. Sunlight painted golden stripes across the walls. Leah was drawing a simple picture. 3 figures under one roof, holding hands. No labels, just together. "What's the title of your drawing?" Ethan asked. Leah glanced at her mother, then at him, and smiled softly. Home. One soft afternoon, golden light slipped through the curtains. Leah sat at the table, writing intently. Isabel read nearby. Ethan cleaned up the kitchen. When Leah finished, she folded the note and placed it into a small wooden box. She set it next to her old stuffed bear on the shelf. "What did you write?" Ethan asked gently. "A letter," Leah smiled. "To myself, back when I was in the park." He didn't respond. She walked over, placed her hand on her chest, and read softly. "Dear little me, I know you're scared, but you survived. You were loved, not forgotten." Tears slipped down Isabel's cheeks. She stood and wrapped her arms around her daughter from behind. Ethan stepped closer, placing a quiet hand on Isabel's shoulder. No grand speeches, just small, quiet acts. Enough to patch the years that were once lost. No perfect past, no promised future. Just a warm present, and 3 souls who had once been lost, now found in each other. And sometimes healing doesn't come with thunder. It arrives softly, in colored pencils and whispered promises beneath the morning sun.